I maxed my credit card for her mom's medical bills. Days later, saw a video of her sister's kids at a $12,000 birthday party. When I asked who paid, she grinned. "Your card, babe." I laughed. "My card has $150. Did you check the name?" Those words hung in the sterile air, the sound of my own voice brittle, barely disguising the betrayal that was already a cold knot in my gut. For one stupid, heart-stopping second, I honestly thought I'd misheard her. The flickering fluorescent lights of Mercy General's waiting room cast long, unsettling shadows, making everyone's face look drained and gray. The distant hum of medical equipment was a dull counterpoint to the quiet devastation unfolding between us. My son, Leo, clutched a cooling paper cup of hot chocolate he hadn't touched, an unreadable shadow across his young face. He was 8, quiet by nature, and trying so hard to act older than his years, because hospitals do that to kids. Jasmine, Chloe's sister, was leaning against the wall, her cream coat looking far too expensive for a Tuesday afternoon in a place like this. Her nails were perfectly done, her hair impeccable. And on her phone, still glowing in her hand, was a video of her twin girls screaming with unadulterated joy under a balloon arch that seemed bigger than my entire living room. Gold letters, a rented pony, a dessert table overflowing with treats, a DJ spinning tunes. I'd already overheard a nurse mutter that someone must have spent a fortune. Then Jasmine grinned, a sharp, knowing smile, and said, "Your card, babe." She directed it at Chloe, my girlfriend, but her eyes were fixed on me, almost willing my face to fall. I looked at the screen again. Kids running wild amidst white and gold decorations. Someone had tagged a swanky venue downtown. Someone else had commented, "Best party ever." And right there in the caption was a little jab about being spoiled by family. My son, Leo, saw it too. His gaze flickered from the phone screen to me, then down to his untouched cocoa. He didn't ask anything. That was the part that truly gutted me. He already knew enough to stay quiet when adults started getting ugly. I let out a single, dry, sharp laugh. "My card has $150 on it," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Did you check the name?" Jasmine's smile faltered, just a fraction. Chloe straightened up from the plastic chair she'd been half sitting in, her usual tired expression hardening into something I couldn't quite decipher. Her mother, Marilyn, had been a whirlwind of drama all morning: chest pain, urgent tests, possible procedures. The kind of chaos that makes normal people stop thinking clearly, stop questioning. But I wasn't normal people right then. I had been there since 6:20 a.m. after driving overnight from Tulsa, still in my work jeans and boots, smelling of road coffee and diesel and bone-deep exhaustion. Jasmine blinked. "What are you talking about?" I looked at Chloe. She looked at her sister. And that's when Marilyn, from her chair by the window, slowly, deliberately, reached into her tote bag. She pulled out a bank envelope. Not a hospital form, not a prescription. A cream-colored bank envelope, folded twice, my name written on it in clear blue ink. Mark Henderson. My hands went cold. I knew that envelope. I had seen one just like it 2 weeks prior, when I'd handed Chloe a stack of cash to deposit for her mother's prescriptions, specialist visits, and all the other things they swore insurance wouldn't cover right away. I'd given her $4,800 from my emergency fund and another $2,300 from a card cash advance I should have never taken. I knew the exact numbers because I'd counted them 3 times at my kitchen table, Leo coloring dinosaurs beside me, oblivious. And now Marilyn was holding that envelope, so casually, like she'd forgotten it existed. I stared at it, then at Chloe. Nobody said anything. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Leo shifted closer, nudging my leg. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a communication breakdown. This wasn't just messy family drama. This was theft, wrapped in a polite, manipulative bow. And my kid was standing right there, watching me figure it out. I'm Mark. I was 39 then. I lived outside Joplin, Missouri, with my son Leo. I drove long-haul routes, mostly Midwest to Texas and back, sometimes farther if the money was worth the sleep I lost. I'd been raising Leo mostly on my own since his mother left when he was 3. No dramatic story there. She just wanted a different life, and she took it. So it had been me, a small brick rental house, a lot of microwave dinners, and a boy who learned early how to sit in a truck cab with crayons and headphones. I wasn't stupid with money. That mattered to me. Truck drivers get treated like we're either reckless or dumb. I was neither. I kept spreadsheets. I paid my bills on time. I had a 6-month emergency fund before I ever bought a newer rig. I packed my lunch. I did my own small repairs when I could. I knew exactly what things cost because I'd spent too many years not having enough. That's why what Chloe's family didn't happen all at once. It happened because they learned I could be counted on. Chloe and I had been together just over 2 years. She worked part-time at a dental office. Warm smile, soft voice, looked tired even on good days. I loved her. That's the truth. And I liked who Leo was around her in the beginning. She brought him puzzle books, remembered that he hated mustard, sat on the floor, and listened when he explained Minecraft like it was a corporate presentation. Her family was another story. Marilyn had a gift for sounding fragile while directing everyone around her like staff. Jasmine always had some emergency. Dance tuition for the twins. A car repair. A deposit for a school trip. An account mix-up. Something with her ex, something with her rent. Something with a package that got stolen. At first it was small. Could I cover dinner when Marilyn forgot her card? Could I float $180 until Friday? Could I pick up groceries because Marilyn wasn't feeling well? Could I help with a copay because they're family? And I let it slide. Because that's how it always starts. Small enough that refusing makes you look mean. Then it got bigger. A special refrigerator for Marilyn's health that somehow ended up in Jasmine's apartment. $600 for medical transport that was actually an SUV rental for a cousin's graduation weekend. A utility bill I paid directly because Marilyn said she was scared her oxygen machine would be affected if the power got shut off. I found out later she had used part of her own money that month on Jasmine's highlights and a weekend hotel stay for the twins near an indoor water park. Every time I caught a mismatch, there was a reason. You misunderstood. You're being harsh. It was all mixed together. We meant to tell you. And every time I started to push back, Chloe would get that tired, pleading look and say, "Please don't make me choose between you and them." So I kept telling myself it was temporary, that real illness was involved, that I was helping, not being used. The worst part was what they did with Leo. Never enough to make a scene at first, just enough to make him notice. At Marilyn's house, Jasmine's twins always had special gift bags with their names on them at Christmas. Leo got a generic gift card slipped to him after dessert. At a summer cookout, there were matching cousin shirts. Leo got told they had run out of his size. At Marilyn's birthday dinner, Jasmine's kids got to help blow out candles. Leo stood there, holding the folded card he made with a hand-drawn semi-truck on the front. Marilyn said, "Set it on the counter, honey," without even opening it. He never complained. That made it worse. He would just ask me things in the truck later. Do they forget me a lot? Or am I still a cousin if they don't say my name? I told myself to wait, to watch, to not drag a child through another broken adult situation, unless I was absolutely sure. Then Marilyn had her heart episode. This was in March. I was on a route near Amarillo when Chloe called, crying. Said Marilyn was in the ER. Said they might need a cardiologist. Said insurance was being difficult. Said Jasmine was a mess and couldn't help because of the twins and work and some overdue rent. I pulled into a rest stop and sat there with the engine idling while she talked, the fear in her voice tightening my chest. I asked how much they needed. She said she didn't know yet. By that evening, it was $1,500 to get started. By the next morning, it was more testing, more prescriptions, more specialist follow-up, more fear. I wired money from my business account, then transferred from savings, then used a credit card when I ran short because I didn't want to leave a woman untreated if she was genuinely in trouble. That's what I believed. When I got home 4 days later, I skipped replacing 2 steer tires on my truck because I had to move money around first. That was how tight I got after helping them. Not broke, but stretched in a way I hate. The kind where every gas receipt starts to feel personal. I still remember Leo sitting at the kitchen table while I sorted bills. He had this little science fair flyer from school in his hand and asked if we could buy the volcano kit this year instead of making one from cardboard. I said, "Maybe next paycheck, buddy." He nodded like it was fine. That same night, Chloe texted me a photo of Marilyn in bed with a blanket, captioned, "Thank you for helping save my mom." I looked at that photo for a long time. Now, standing in that hospital waiting room, with the bank envelope clutched in Marilyn's hand and the video of a $12,000 birthday party still fresh on Jasmine's screen, I realized exactly what I had saved. Not Marilyn. The party. The arch. The pony. The sugar tower. The venue. I asked the question plainly, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. How much of the medical money went to that party? Jasmine started talking first. Too fast. That was her tell. It wasn't like that. Okay, Mom did have appointments and there were expenses and things got shuffled around and shuffled, I echoed. Chloe finally stood up, her face pale. Mark, please. No, I said, still quiet. Not one of you say my name like I'm overreacting. I asked a direct question. Marilyn pressed the envelope flatter in her lap. Jasmine crossed her arms, her defiant glare meeting mine. You were helping family. I nodded once, a slow, deliberate movement. My son, I said, my voice now laced with an edge I rarely let surface. Heard you brag about using my card for a party. It was a joke. Jasmine protested, but it sounded hollow even to her. Then explain the envelope, I challenged. Chloe's face changed then. Not angry, not shocked. Cornered. That hurt more than all the lying, because it meant she knew. Maybe not every detail, maybe not every dollar, but enough. Leo tugged my sleeve very softly. Dad. I looked down. His cocoa cup was crushed a little in his hand. Can we go? There it was. The clear moment. The one I still think about. My kid, in a hospital waiting room, asking to leave not because he was bored or tired, but because he could feel that he and I were the only people there behaving like human beings, and all those adults still hadn't apologized. I took the cup from his hand and set it on the side table. Then I said the only thing that mattered. We're going. Chloe looked stunned. My mom is still waiting on results. I looked at Marilyn. She sat upright, her makeup pristine, hair set, the bank envelope still in her lap. She can call Jasmine, I said. That started the noise. Jasmine telling me I was cruel. Marilyn doing that wounded little gasp that always melted Chloe. Chloe pleading, please not here. I didn't yell. That would have let them turn me into the problem. Instead, I asked Chloe for my truck key fob back. The spare one she kept. She blinked. What? The key? I said, my voice unwavering. And the gas card. Because yes, there was a gas card too. I had added her as an authorized user 6 months earlier when her car was acting up, and I wanted to help. She had promised to use it for groceries and appointments only. I had believed that too, until I noticed charges near a boutique bakery downtown and a party rental place I did not recognize. She pulled the fob from her purse slowly, as if in slow motion. The gas card came next. I held out my hand and waited. When she finally gave them to me, Jasmine scoffed, a little laugh that suggested I was proving some point about being controlling. No, I said, looking straight at her. I'm just done financing lies. Then I took Leo's backpack, put my hand on his shoulder, and walked out. That should have been the end. But people who live off your labor don't go quiet when the labor leaves. By the time I got Leo home, I had 11 missed calls. By dinner, 19. Texts from Jasmine. Asterisk, you're embarrassing, Chloe. Mom could have died today. It was not all your money. Do you really want to traumatize children over this? Asterisk, that last one was rich, because her children had a pony and a champagne-colored balloon tunnel, and my kid had stood there being taught that adults could take from him, too. Chloe's messages came later, longer and softer. She said she had meant to explain. She said some of the money really had gone to Marilyn's tests. She said Jasmine had pressured everyone because the twins' father backed out of helping with the party, and deposits were non-refundable. She said Marilyn didn't want the twins disappointed. I sat at my kitchen table, reading those texts while Leo worked on homework nearby. I thought about that sentence. Didn't want the twins disappointed. As if my son was made of plywood. As if disappointment was only real when it happened to the children they claimed. I did not answer right away. I opened my laptop. Then I did the cleanest thing I have ever done in anger. I separated every financial thread. I removed Chloe from my gas account, canceled the authorized user card, changed the login to the emergency savings portal she had once helped me access from her phone, transferred the remaining balance from the shared care fund account into my primary savings, called the credit union and flagged the recent cash withdrawal dispute for review, paused the automatic monthly payment I had set up for Marilyn's prescription plan. Then I opened the note app on my phone and typed one sentence, because I knew I would need to repeat it more than once. I will not fund a family that humiliates my child and lies about my money. Simple. No speech, no drama. Just a hard boundary. The next morning, I called the cardiology office whose name was on one of the receipts Chloe had sent me weeks earlier. I asked only whether Marilyn had been seen and whether there was an outstanding balance in her name that I had previously offered to help with. They could not tell me much for privacy reasons, but they told me enough. The balance was nowhere near what I had been told. Not even close. I sat in my truck outside a fuel stop, staring at the steering wheel. Then I laughed again. Not because it was funny, but because once a lie gets measured, it shrinks fast. That afternoon, Chloe came by the house. Not inside, onto the porch. She looked tired for real this time. No makeup, hair tied back, hands shaking. Leo was in the living room, building a model bridge from popsicle sticks for school. I stepped outside and pulled the screen door closed behind me. She cried first. Said she had messed up. Said she kept thinking she could smooth it over. Said Jasmine had convinced Marilyn the party had to happen because the twins had already invited their whole class and people were expecting something nice. Said some deposits got paid on my card because Chloe had the number saved from pharmacy pickups. I let her talk. Then I asked the only thing I still needed answered. When Leo was left out all those other times, I asked, my voice barely a whisper, "Did you notice?" She looked at me, and that was answer enough. "I noticed," she whispered. That almost took me out. Not the party. Not the money. That, because noticing and doing nothing is a colder kind of cruelty. I kept my voice level. "You watched them treat my son like he was extra. Then you helped yourself to money I earned on the road to give Jasmine's kids a show." "It wasn't for Jasmine," she insisted. "Not just for her." I shook my head. "Don't cut that smaller. It was exactly for her." She started crying harder. Said she loved me. Said she loved Leo. I believed she felt something. I just didn't believe it was stronger than what her family had trained into her. So I gave her the sentence I had written. "I will not fund a family that humiliates my child and lies about my money." She asked if this was really the end. "You're off my accounts," I told her, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "And you're not coming around Leo until I know he won't be taught to accept scraps." Her face closed up then, like I had finally spoken a language she understood. Money access. "No." She left without yelling. That night, Marilyn called from a different number and left a voicemail that was almost impressive in its shamelessness. She said I was abandoning sick people. Said, "Real men don't count dollars when elders are suffering." Said, Leo had always seemed sensitive, and maybe I was making him softer by centering him too much. I saved the voicemail. Not for court, not for revenge. For clarity. Because once somebody says the ugly part out loud, you stop doubting yourself. The fallout kept going for 2 weeks. Jasmine posted vague quotes online about selfish men and broken promises. A cousin I barely knew messaged to say, family support should not come with conditions. Marilyn sent a church lady from her building to call me cold. Chloe wrote one final long message saying, maybe I had never understood how family works. I wrote back exactly once. Family does not use one child to decorate and another child to pay. Then I blocked what needed blocking. The practical consequences came fast for them. Marilyn's prescription autopay stopped. The party balance dispute surfaced when the venue followed up on the card authorization. Jasmine had to sell 2 decorative rental pieces and cancel a spring photo package she had already booked for the twins. Chloe had to borrow her sister's car after I removed her from my truck fuel account, and she ran through her own cash. I did not celebrate any of that. I just noticed how quickly their emergencies became visible once my wallet stopped absorbing them. Meanwhile, my own house got quieter. That surprised me. I expected grief to be louder. Instead, it was quiet in a good way. No dramatic calls during dinner. No last-minute demands while I was on the road. No guilt hanging over every paycheck. One Saturday, about 3 weeks later, Leo and I went to the science store in Springfield. I had paid down the card enough by then to breathe again, and I bought him the volcano kit he had asked for. Not a huge thing, $29 and some tax. But he held that box all the way to the truck like it was gold. On the drive home, he said, "Are we in trouble?" "With who?" I asked. He looked out the window. "With them." I thought about lying, giving him some clean adult phrase. Instead, I told him the truth he could carry.
"No, buddy.
We just stopped letting people spend what belongs to us." He nodded slowly. A few miles later, he said, "I didn't like that lady saying your card." "I know." She was acting like it was funny. "I know," I said, a lump forming in my throat. He picked at the corner of the box. "I don't want to go back there." "You won't," I said, and I meant it with my whole chest. A month after the hospital scene, the school held family night for the third graders. Folding chairs in the cafeteria, paper artwork clipped on strings, store-brand cookies on plastic trays. Nothing fancy, everything honest. Leo's bridge project sat on a table near the back, with his name typed neatly on a white card. He kept looking over to make sure I was still there. I was. At one point, another boy's grandma came by and admired the bridge and asked Leo if his dad helped. Before he could answer, I said he designed the whole thing. I only held the glue. Leo smiled. Small, but real. Later, we took his project home and set it on the kitchen counter. He wanted to keep it just for a while. It stayed there almost 2 weeks. That was the quiet closure, I think. Not some perfect revenge moment, not a dramatic speech. Just my son leaving his project in the middle of our kitchen because he knew nobody there would toss it aside, joke about him, or use him as the cost of somebody else's celebration. The last thing I ever got from Marilyn was another envelope. No cash in it, just a folded note left in my mailbox with no stamp. She wrote that families forgive, that hearts change, that I was punishing too many people over one misunderstanding. One misunderstanding. I stood at the sink and read that line twice. Then I turned the envelope over and let Leo use the blank side for a spelling test practice list. That felt right. A useful ending for a useless message. I did learn something from all of it. Being generous is not the same as being respected. Helping people financially does not make them love you, and it definitely does not make them safe for your child. Some people will take your overtime, your credit, your sleep, your pride, and still act inconvenienced when you ask where it went. And a child notices everything. He notices which cousins get celebrated. He notices who gets full plates and who gets leftovers. He notices whether the adult who loves him will step in or keep the peace. That last part matters most. I used to think protecting Leo meant absorbing more cost, more discomfort, more insult, more patience. Keep the relationship alive, keep things smooth, keep being the solid one. I was wrong. Protecting your child sometimes looks like a bank login screen, a canceled card, a key returned to your palm, a quiet ride home, a door that does not reopen. It looks boring from the outside, but to a kid, it feels like safety. These are the conclusions I carried from it. If people can smile at your child's hurt, they have already told you who they are. If money only matters when it flows one direction, that was never family. That was access. And if your child has to stand there and watch you be used, the boundary is already overdue. I did not get my money back.
Not all of it.
But I got something better. My son stopped asking if they forgot him. And in our house, that silence meant peace. What would you have done in my shoes? How far would you go to protect your child from emotional and financial predators, even if they're family? Let me know in the comments below.